game's afoot.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock, Sherlock, Sherlock. We can never get enough Sherlock. It's hard to deny that Sherlock Holmes has been experiencing a resurgence in popularity in the last few years, with the release of 2 films from director Guy Ritchie.
Get that out of my face.
It's not in your face, it's in my hand.
Get what's in your hand out of my face.
And 2 very similar iterations on television, those being Elementary.
This is Miss Watson, my personal valet.
And of course, Sherlock.
Keep me informed.
Of what?
Absolutely no idea.
While the gimmick of transplanting the iconic Victorian detective to the world of modern day might have seemed groundbreaking at the time, another TV adaptation had already gone this route, delivering a criminally underrated entry in the Conan Doyle legacy.
Absolutely correct.
Not to be confused with the original collection of short stories, The Return of Sherlock Holmes was a made-for-TV movie that premiered on CBS in 1987 and would have served as a series pilot had it been picked up.
Television.
Television.
Radio with pictures.
The story begins with a murder, followed by the introduction of Jane Watson, played by Margaret Collin. And yes, she's the descendant of Dr. John Watson, and, conveniently enough, also a detective.
He left this tin dispatch box in our office shortly before his death, with instructions to pass it on to the next Watson to enter the house.
Also, she's inherited an old house from her late grandfather, a house that contains a secret chamber underneath, where, frozen for decades, lies Sherlock Holmes, played by Michael Pennington. And I just love her reaction when he introduces himself.
My name is Sherlock Holmes.
Watson brings Holmes to America despite Holmes not having a passport or even proof of his ID.
What kind of a vehicle is this?
Oh, it's a plane.
Ah. Travels on the plains, no doubt.
Not exactly.
He adopts the alias of Holmes Segerson, since everyone he normally introduces himself to thinks he's a lunatic for claiming to be a fictional character.
What is your name?
Sherlock Holmes.
Tell me, have any of your mental patients escaped recently?
In fact, now that I think about it, it's unclear as to how Holmes is both fictional and historically real in this universe. I'm guessing Arthur Conan Doyle was a biographer and nobody knew it.
I fear my chronicler was prone to exaggeration and romanticism.
And now back to the murder mystery part of the story.
Are you Jane Watson?
Yes.
My name is Violet Morstan.
The client is a woman named Violet, played by Connie Booth, who you may recognize as Polly from Fawlty Towers.
I mean, we all warned you. Who else would do something like this?
I beg your pardon?
You hired O'Reilly.
Holmes and Watson begin to investigate her father's murder, which is actually just the first in a series of assassinations being committed by this shady asshole.
We finally meet, Mr. Small.
Much of the plot is actually taken from 2 of the original Sherlock Holmes novels, the most obvious being The Sign of 4, with the notes at the end of each murder scene signed small, as well as the surprise ending of The Valley of Fear, which I'm not going to spoil. Again, I'm not sure how this story can exist in the same continuity as the original books it's ripping off, but, you know, TV logic. Besides the mystery itself, this is a story of Holmes out of time, frequently in situations where his extraordinary deductive abilities are now rendered useless by the fact that he doesn't know what kind of a world he now lives in.
I know nothing of the modern world. Babe in the woods. Walking anachronism.
Even his beloved 221B Baker Street is gone.
Egad.
He's still a brilliant guy, but without proper context, he's more prone to making mistakes, and this is a new kind of challenge for him as he's normally used to being right all the time.
This was written by a man who stands more than 6 feet tall, is of great strength, and probably weighs some 15 stone, more than 200 pounds. He's poor since he uses paper of the coarsest variety, and he wears a cheap cologne.
First of all, the police took the original note to analyze. I copied it down myself.
I may be overweight, but I'm not 6 feet tall, and I'm not a man. The stroke is thick because I wrote it with a felt tip pen, and the paper is coarse because you are holding a photocopy. And that cheap cologne is my perfume.
Some of these are downright goofy, but in true Holmes fashion, he's adaptable and able to learn quickly.
Florida. Is it inhabited now?
At first, driving a horseless carriage is a daunting challenge, but after a while he gets the hang of it and even starts to enjoy it. And yes, this movie even introduces Sherlock Holmes to porn.
I'm going to buy a book of 20th century history. Bring me up to date.
Oh, no, you don't want to go in there. That's an adult bookstore.
Well, I'm an adult.
I really like Michael Pennington as Sherlock Holmes, and I wish he had gotten the chance to play the character on a regular basis. He has the confidence but not the off-putting arrogance, whereas other modern iterations have tended to play up his general lack of social skills.
Put that in your blog, or better still, stop inflicting your opinions on the world.
Pennington is naturally charming and romantic.
Shivering, Miss Morstan. Shall we turn up the stove?
Margaret Collin is pretty good too.
Thanks a lot.
This is the kind of Holmes and Watson duo that Americans in the 80s would have wanted to see on TV, so it's a shame this series was never picked up. I recommend this one, even if you're not a Holmes fan. It's a fun and accessible retelling with just the right balance of the old and the new.